Today, we step into the real Middle Ages, a world without faucets, showers, toothpaste, deodorant, or modern medicine. A time when people lived close to the earth, close to animals, and close to hardship. Movies love to show filthy peasants crawling through mud. That's what makes for dramatic scenes, but it isn't the whole truth. Medieval people cared about cleanliness. They washed, they groomed, they cleaned clothes, just not the way we do today. Their world demanded effort instead of convenience, and for them, effort was cleanliness. As always, let me know which part of the world you're watching from. Now let's get into the hygiene practices of the Middle Ages. A medieval day began at sunrise. There was no private bathroom waiting, only a basin, cold water, and a cloth. Most people washed their face and hands first. A quick rinse, a splash of water, sometimes a rub with herbs or a cloth. It woke the body and washed off sweat and dirt from the night. There was no mirror on the wall, but combs were common. Combing hair helped remove knots and, if lucky, keep lice under control. Simple tasks done every morning showed self-respect. Cleanliness wasn't luxury, it was a routine. Contrary to popular belief, medieval people did bathe, just not every day. Water had to be carried by hand, bucket by bucket. Heating it meant chopping wood, lighting a fire, and waiting. A full bath was effort, and effort meant planning. Many washed fully once a week, especially in warmer seasons. In the winter, water was ice cold, and baths were much harder. On ordinary days, people washed what mattered most: the face, hands, feet, and underarms. Bathing was practical, not indulgent. Soap did exist, but it wasn't soft or gentle. Most soap came from animal fat mixed with ashes. It cleaned well, but dried the skin and carried a strong smell. Wealthy homes sometimes had softer soap scented with herbs and oils, but most people washed with water alone, unless they truly needed soap. In their world, water was the main tool, soap was a backup. Fresh skin mattered, but fresh clothes mattered more. People wore linen shirts and undershirts close to the body. These absorbed sweat and dirt and were washed far more often than outer garments. Wool tunics and cloaks were heavy and expensive, so they were brushed and aired out, not scrubbed constantly. Laundry days were hard work, boiling water over fire, scrubbing cloth by hand, rinsing in cold rivers, then hanging garments to dry in open air. Clean linen meant dignity. Even peasants valued that. Medieval life had a natural smell: sweat from labor, smoke from cooking fires, animals nearby. But people still cared about scent. They rinsed with vinegar. They rubbed herbs on the skin. They wore small pouches of mint, lavender, or rosemary when they could. They didn't expect to smell like flowers, only to smell human, clean and natural. Toothpaste didn't exist, but tooth care did. People rubbed their teeth with a cloth. They chewed sticks to clean between them. They rinsed with water, wine, or herbs like mint or sage. Salt and crushed charcoal were common scrubs. Dental pain was constant in this era. If a tooth rotted badly, it was pulled. Fast, rough, and without pain relief. It wasn't ideal, but it's all they had. Clean water mattered, and it could be dangerous. People learned which wells and streams were safe and which made people sick. They boiled water when they had the means to. Many drank ale instead of water because brewing killed harmful germs long before they understood why. Even children drank weak ale daily. Medieval hygiene wasn't perfect, it wasn't modern, and it wasn't easy. But it wasn't careless or filthy. People washed, people groomed, and people valued cleanliness. They simply did it in a world without soap bars, faucets, plumbing, mirrors, or medicine, using effort, instinct, and the tools nature allowed. In the towns and cities, bathhouses were a part of normal life. They weren't luxurious like Roman baths, but they worked. People went to wash, relax muscles after work, and warm their bodies in the water. Steam filled the rooms, buckets clattered, water heated in great iron pots. You bathed beside neighbors, travelers, and strangers. Modesty depended on local custom. For many, this weekly visit was the deepest clean they'd get. It wasn't spa culture, it was survival comfort. Later in the Middle Ages, some bathhouses gained a reputation for gambling or immoral behavior. Not everywhere, but enough that some church leaders spoke against them. Still, most were simply places to wash and rest, and nothing more. Monks took cleanliness seriously. Water was a part of discipline, not vanity. They washed their hands before every meal. They bathed on a set schedule. They cleaned clothing and bedding more often than common folk. Some monasteries even built systems to channel fresh water through stone pipes. Primitive plumbing, but effective. Cleanliness served order, health, and devotion. A clean body supported a focused mind and spirit. In a world without medicine, monks came closest to organized hygiene. Nobles didn't live spotless lives, but they had options common people didn't. A wooden tub could be brought into a chamber and filled with warm water. Servants heated water, carried buckets, laid cloths, prepared herbs, and washed garments. Noble women often applied scented oils or floral water after bathing. Rose water was the favorite. Men shaved or trimmed hair with help from attendants. They dealt with lice. They still faced dirt and sweat. But comfort made cleaning easier, and scented oils masked daily smells. Peasants didn't have servants or warm baths on demand. Their cleanliness depended on time, season, and survival needs. Most washed their face and hands each morning. Hair was combed, sometimes braided, sometimes trimmed short to fight lice. Feet and hands were scrubbed after long work days. Clothes were washed when possible, even if it meant freezing fingers in winter rivers. A peasant couldn't smell like perfume, but they could smell clean and earthy. That was normal. That was good. Cleanliness wasn't a luxury, it was a routine built into the rhythm of life. Hair required constant attention. Lice didn't care about wealth or rank, everyone fought them. People used bone or wooden combs, vinegar rinses, and herbal oils to control pests. Women braided hair to keep it clean and manageable. Men sometimes shaved parts of their head or grew their hair longer depending on region and fashion. A comb was a valued item, not for beauty, but practicality. Clothes mattered more than baths. Fresh linen undergarments kept skin cleaner by absorbing sweat. They were washed often, outer layers were brushed, beaten, and aired out. Laundry meant boiling water, scrubbing by hand, hauling heavy wet cloth, and drying everything in open air. It was exhausting work, usually done in groups near rivers or wells. Clean clothes signaled pride, and for nobles, status. For peasants, clean linen showed self-respect. There were no spray cans or sweet perfumes for the average person. Instead, they relied on nature. People rubbed their skin with herbs or rinsed with vinegar. They kept mint or rosemary inside clothing. Wealthy homes had oils from abroad, but most used what grew nearby. Smelling like earth and herbs wasn't failure. It was part of life. And a clean person smelled like linen, firewood, and fresh air more than anything else. Bathroom habits depended on where you lived. Villagers used pits outside homes. Towns had public latrines and chamber pots. Castles dropped waste down vertical shaft into pits below. It wasn't modern sanitation, but it kept daily life moving. Waste was a part of the world, and they tried to control it, not ignore it. As towns grew, so did the concern over waste and disease. Some regions passed early sanitation rules. Clean outside your home, don't dump waste in streets, and dispose of garbage in approved spots. Not every town followed these, but effort existed. People didn't love filth. They fought it as best they could with the tools of their time. When plague swept across Europe, fear changed everything. Nobody knew about germs, but they saw patterns. Crowded, dirty streets fell first. Travelers brought sickness. Foul air seemed deadly. People tried what they understood. Homes were swept often, clothes washed more often. Herbs burned to purify the air. Windows shut tight against bad smells. They didn't have science, they had instincts, and instincts pushed them toward whatever cleanliness they could manage. Earlier in the Middle Ages, many bathed gladly. Warm water, steam, and soap were comfort. But during plague years, some new regions grew suspicious. People believed warm baths opened the body and made sickness easier to enter. So wipes and linen cleaning replaced soaking. Shorter washes became safer than deep baths. Fear changed habits, not culture. People adapted when the danger arrived. Dental pain was one of the worst parts of medieval life. There were no fillings, no numbing medicine, no gentle dentist. When a tooth rotted, it came out. Our barber surgeon held your jaw, grabbed iron tools, and pulled. A clean mouth meant fewer infections, but the price was pain. People rinsed with vinegar or wine to clean the mouth afterward. It wasn't comfort, it was a necessity. A cut could kill, a scratch might end a life if it became infected. People washed wounds with vinegar, wine, or clean water when they could. Herbs like honey, rosemary, and thyme helped when available. Without germ knowledge, they relied on trial and error. They learned what worked by what didn't. Survival shaped hygiene more than comfort did. Pests were a daily enemy, not a sign of laziness. Simply the nature of the time. Combing hair daily helped. Vinegar rinses worked, but stung. Clothes boiled in water killed eggs. Straw bedding burned and replaced when infested. They didn't surrender to pests, they fought them every day. Clean water was never guaranteed. People trusted wells they knew, and fresh springs when they found them. Rivers near towns were risky. Ale became the safe drink, not for fun, but for protection. Boiled and brewed, it killed what water didn't. Children drank weak ale not because anyone wanted them to, but because it kept them alive. Clean meant survival. Clean did not mean scentless. People expected to smell like life. Fire, earth, herbs, sweat, wool, fresh bread, wood smoke. This was normal, and it didn't signal poor hygiene. Artificial perfume didn't exist, but effort did. To medieval people, a clean person smelled natural and honest. Staying clean required effort every single day. Washing took time, laundry took hours. Teeth, hair, skin, all needed manual work. Cleanliness wasn't a product you bought, it was a practice you lived. And they did it without complaint. A life close to the earth taught patience, discipline, and resilience. Clean wasn't shine, clean was survival. Illness pushed people to wash. Pain forced them to pull teeth and scrub wounds. The plague changed ideas about baths. Medieval women often held the highest hygiene standards in the household, not because they had better tools, but because they cared for family health and appearance. Women washed the children, cleaned clothing, managed water, and prepared herbs for basic hygiene. They combed the hair, braided it to keep lice away, and used simple oils when possible. There were no cosmetic stores. Beauty came from neat hair, clean linen, and a natural scent of herbs and fresh air. Men lived close to sweat and labor, but they still groomed. Hair was trimmed or tied, beard shaped or shaved depending on region and belief. Hands washed after work, feet scrubbed, nails cut when the tools allowed. Warriors, craftsmen, and farmers all valued a proper appearance on holy days, market days, and gatherings. A well-kept look showed pride, strength, and good discipline. No man wanted to stand in church looking wild or unkempt. Religion shaped hygiene more than people realize. Before meals, hands were washed as a sign of respect. Before entering a church, people cleaned dirt from the skin and clothes when they could. Monks bathed on schedules written into rules of devotion. Cleanliness connected body and spirit. It showed humility and order. Even in humble homes, washing before prayers and meals was common. Hygiene varied by environment. In villages, nature helped. Fresh air, running streams, and open ground. People washed outside, dried clothes under the sun, and worked in clean wind and earth. Cities were different. Crowded streets, waste from markets, animals everywhere. Smoke and human traffic made dirt unavoidable. People still washed, but conditions fought them every day. Castles looked grand, but inside they could be smoky and cramped. Servants cleaned privy shafts, washed clothes, and scrubbed floors constantly. Nobles had better tools, but cleanliness still required labor. No place in the Middle Ages was effortless. Clean wasn't about shining skin or scented scope. A well-washed face, tidy hair, fresh linen, trimmed nails, these marked a respectable person, not perfect, but cared for. Nobles showed status with rich fabrics and perfumes. Peasants showed pride by staying tidy despite the dirt of work. Merchants and craftsmen kept combs and clothes handy to look presentable in the trade. Appearance carried meaning. Even in a rough world, people noticed. Being clean wasn't just a physical, it was social. A clean person respected themselves, their neighbors, and their faith. Filth meant more work for others, more smell, more sickness. So every household, poor or wealthy, made an effort. Cleanliness was community behavior. Everyone played a part. From shared bath spaces to street cleaning rules, people lived close together, and cleanliness kept peace. Modern stories often show the Middle Ages as filthy and hopeless. Everyone covered in mud, people never bathing, rot and stink everywhere. It makes dramatic sense, but it isn't the truth. People didn't accept filth. They fought it daily with fewer tools and harder lives. They valued dignity, cleanliness, and order because their world demanded it. Life was rough, but not careless. The Middle Ages didn't smell like perfume and soap, but it didn't smell like garbage piles either. Think earth after the rain, wood smoke from cooking and heating, sweat from honest labor, herbs tucked into clothing, fresh bread, animals, leather, wool, straw bedding, natural smells, some pleasant, some strong, but normal for the time. To them, our modern chemical fragrances would likely smell strange. Clean back then meant natural and well kept, not scented and sterile. What the movies get wrong, movies always show that people never bathe. Filthy clothes every single day, wild hair and broken teeth, and rotting streets with no effort to be clean. Reality is different. People took pride in grooming. They washed regularly. They cleaned clothes often, even when it was difficult. They built bathhouses, washed with herbs, and managed waste systems. They didn't ignore hygiene, they worked for it. They simply didn't have plumbing or soap aisles. They had buckets, basins, cloth, and time. They understood routine. They valued clean linens. They groomed their hair, washed their hands, and cared for children. They boiled clothes when they could. They used vinegar, herbs, and simple scrubs. They watched water sources, boiled water, and brewed safe drinks. They didn't know germs, but instinct and observation kept them alive. They had no medicine to stop infection, no dental care beyond force, no way to sterilize tools, no sewer systems like we have today, and pest and disease were constant threats. Hardship didn't mean ignorance, it meant limitation. They fought every day to stay healthy in a world without safety nets. A more honest picture is this: they weren't spotless, but they weren't filthy. They were resourceful, disciplined, and resilient. They washed with cold water in the winter. They scrubbed clothing by hand. They combed hair to fight lice. They bathed when they could and wiped clean when they couldn't. They stayed proud in a harsh world. They weren't quote-unquote dirty people. They were people doing their best, and often doing better than we assume. Hygiene wasn't convenience, it was effort, every day. That effort reveals something powerful. Medieval people lived close to nature, close to work, and close to challenge, and still cared about staying clean and presentable. They worked for dignity, they worked for health, and they worked for respect. And in that struggle, they built habits and traditions that echo into our world today. This has been Sleeping with History, where the past truly never rests, and neither do we.